This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth, for competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty, for the Republic.
I'm the guy who at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. It's this very special time. It's a crucial time in our nation's history, particularly with regard to the justice system. I'm going to have on my great client, Jerry Corsi, later. We call him Dr. Corsi. He's the doctor, like Dr. J. He's Dr. C, because he fought the law, in quotes. It wasn't the law. It was Robert Mueller who was acting in a lawless way, and we won. And this is one of the biggest victories of my legal career. I've been a lawyer now for 42 years. I can't believe it's that long. Of course, I only look like I'm 42, right, rather than 67. But I've scored some major victories just in the last few years against the National Security Agency for illegal and unconstitutional mass surveillance. We were the ones at Freedom Watch who filed the first case for Sheriff Joe Arpaio to invalidate the $5 million amnesty executive order of Barack Obama. That was knocked out. The 25 states' attorney generals copied our complaint. We intervened in their case. When a Clinton appointee threw our case out in D.C., we went to Texas with them. We went all the way to the Supreme Court, and we won. And, of course, the instrumental victory with regard to Klayman Bundy in his political prosecution in Las Vegas, Nevada, over the successful standoff. Another example of fighting the law, and we won. Of course, these are not legal people. They do things unethically. They do them illegally, whether it's the prosecutors in the Bundy case or whether it's Robert Mueller and the hacks in and around him, and now Jerry Corsi. And I might say it's extremely satisfying to have a friend and a client and a fellow, and I say this facetiously, co-conspiracy theorist, found, in effect, not guilty. What we did was we've pushed back against Robert Mueller. Mueller wanted Corsi to sign a false plea agreement to agree to testify falsely against the President of the United States. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it as a matter of morality and ethics. He wouldn't do it in front of his creator, God. And, of course, we won. We stood Mueller down. Now, it's continuing because now we have these rabid Democrats, Gerald Nadler of the House Judiciary Committee and Adam Schiff, little Adam Schiff, the vile Adam Schiff of the House Intel Committee, wanting to continue on. They're like the soldiers, the Japanese soldiers in the jungles after World War II. They don't know that the war has ended, but they can do a lot of damage. They've got nuclear weapons there, in effect, because they smear. They've got CNN on their side. They got MSNBC on their side. They got NBC generally, CBS, the whole rest of them. And I've sued them all for my clients, by the way. But we're pushing back. We have lawsuits against Mueller for illegal mass surveillance, which included Jerry Corsi, with regard to leaking grand jury information. We have cases against the Washington Post and, of course, Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post, the richest man in the world, for smearing Jerry. We're pushing back. Now, why is it important for us to push back? We've heard the president say just in the last few days that now there needs to be justice. Now there has to be pushback, hold people accountable. Well, who is the president relying upon to do that? None other than Senator Lindsey Graham. Well, here's the stone-cold truth, no pun intended. The fact is, Lindsey Graham is the guy who told Senator John McCain to give the Steele dossier, that phony dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, which is what triggered this entire Mueller grand jury investigation, this witch hunt. Lindsey Graham told McCain, who had gotten that Steele dossier from the Democrats and from other sources, to give that to the FBI. This is what was used as the pretext to start the Russian collusion witch hunt. Lindsey Graham is, in fact, one of the chief culprits for how this whole thing came to pass. But, of course, he had a change of heart, so to speak, during the Kavanaugh hearings. I believe that he's angling to replace Vice President Pence in 2020 with regard to the presidential elections in that year, or should Trump lose, and even if he should win, then run for president himself. I've tried to meet with Lindsey Graham. He won't meet anybody. And when you see him interviewed just in the last few days, he looks like he swallowed a canary. Well, it's worse than that, because he knows that he's got some issues here and that he's not going to do anything for dough. He's going to do it for show. So these hearings are typical congressional hearings by establishment Republicans, which create the appearance that they're doing something, but it's not really going to happen. What counts are the lawsuits that we have for Jerry Corsi against Robert Mueller to hold him accountable. We also have lawsuits, and Jerry filed this too. And Jerry, we're going to talk about this when he's on, against the Washington Post and Jeff Bezos. I've also filed against the leftist media. It's called our Leftist Media Strike Force, and privately I filed for clients Joe Arpaio, for clients Chief Justice Roy Moore, and for others, against virtually every leftist media network and publication, whether it's the New York Times, whether it's the Huffington Post, whether it's the Daily Beast, whether it's Rolling Stone, whether it's CBS, whether it's Showtime or Bravo. I mean, we actually do it. I'm watching this week, I'm looking at Hannity doing his so-called victory lap. Hannity claims credit for everything. The guy's completely an egomaniac. Yeah, I mean, it's good to get things out. I'm tired of seeing the same people in a show all the time. It'd be nice if you got some people in there that knew what they were talking about, rather than Sarah Carter, who Hannity's been told he can't even refer to her as investigative journalist anymore. But nevertheless, it's good that he got the information out. But now he's claiming credit for everything. Well, who is the person and who is the group that's holding the left-wing media accountable? It's Freedom Watch. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. See our leftist media strike force. We just don't talk, we act. And look at my former colleagues, Fitton at Judicial Watch. They get documents. Okay, documents are fine, but when you get documents, you got to do something with the documents rather than just go on Fox News or some other place and beat your chest or do YouTubes and talk about how great you are. You actually have to do something about it. And that's what we do at Freedom Watch. We bring lawsuits, not just Freedom of Information Act cases. That's important to get the documents. But once you get them, what are you going to do about it? Well, Fitton's not a lawyer. That's why they focus on the easy stuff. We at Freedom Watch do the hard stuff. I'm a trial lawyer of 42 years. I'm also a criminal defense lawyer. I'm also a civil lawyer. We're in the trenches, and we're the only ones that can do it or will do it. So in addition to what we're doing for Jerry Corsi, pushing back against Robert Mueller to bring about justice, and forget about Lindsey Graham. He's got other skeletons in his closet, and I'm not going to get into them here. Everybody knows what it's about, and it deals with the word closet. But the reality here is that we're going to do the job. And we also have our citizens' grand juries that are cranking up in Ventura County, California, where we're going to indict, we're going to try, we're going to convict, and we're going to sentence, and we're going to legally and peacefully carry out those sentences. We're going to ask the president to intervene. That's how he can really be most helpful, because he has the authority to have these people arrested and put away for the rest of their lives as they deserve to be. We are not going to do anything violent. We're going to do it peacefully. We also need to set an example for the American people that we hold our destiny in our own hands. We can no longer rely on government. It's corrupt on both sides of the aisle. President Trump, I support. I've always supported him. He's our one hope. If he gets thrown out of office and the Democrats are still planning to impeach him, whether it's Gerald Nadler, whether it's Adam Schiff, whether it's the two Muslim congresswomen, particularly Tlaib, who calls the president an MF, let's impeach him. It's unbelievable. Anti-Semites, anti-Jew, anti-Christian haters are running loose in Congress. These jihadis got themselves in there, and they want to destroy not just Christians and Jews. They want to destroy the whole fabric of our legal system. Let there be no mistake about it. Jeanine Pirro didn't say anything wrong, and when she said it, she was thrown off of Fox News. These people believe in Sharia law. They do not believe in our Constitution, and they are a real threat to our republic. And with regard to Ilhan Omar, which we filed a petition to have her prosecuted and deported from the United States because she married her brother, immigration fraud, to get him to be a citizen. And also she cavorts around with terrorists, terrorist-related groups. She just spoke to CARE just last week in Woodland Hills, California, who supports terrorists. They have terrorist links. They were named an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation case a number of years in Dallas, Texas. Somebody's got to do something about it. The Republicans aren't going to do anything about it. They just want to do these hearings. They want to raise money. They want to be reelected. What have they done? The president does things, and that's why we need to support him. So these citizens' grand juries, the first on our list to indict, convict, sentence, and carry out those sentences peacefully and legally are none other than James Comey, Rod Rosenstein, the political hack at the Justice Department, Obama holdover, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, the Lovebirds, Bruce Orr, Adam Schiff. And then we get around to Obama and Clinton that were behind this witch hunt. They're all going to be indicted, convicted, and tried. I've got enough evidence now. I don't need any more documents from Tom Fitton. Okay, we've got the evidence. It's out there. It's been acquired in a number of different ways. We're actually doing something, and that's why we need your strong support. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute with tax-deductible contributions. For a $250 contribution or more, we'll send you my 4-volume work, Essays of a Mad Man. Yes, I'm mad, and I'm doing something about it. I'm just not talking. We're actually doing something about it. And I'm going to be right back with my brave and valiant client, Dr. Jerome Corsi, who stood there in the breach for everybody in this country. He didn't back down. He didn't plead out. He took it to the end. We fought Mueller. We fought the law. And we won. And that's a lesson for all of us. You have to stand up to bullies. You cannot shy away from bullies. And I talked about that in my book, Whores, Why and How I Came to Fight the Establishment. And my dad told me if I was beaten up by bullies one more time in elementary school, he'd beat me up when I got home. We'll be right back with Dr. Jerry Corsi.
Dangerous.
You don't care. He uses the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special prosecutor.
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
As I've said before, I'm back with my really good friend, patriotic client, someone who stood there in the breach for all Americans with regard to the tyranny by Special Counsel Robert Mueller and his very conflicted left-wing, rabid Democrat staff, prosecutorial staff. Jerry, I wanted to go back over this because this is a lesson in history that you have to stand up for bullies. I was telling the audience in the first segment that when I was a young kid, it's in my book, Whores, Why and How I Came to Fight the Establishment, that when I went to Lamberton Elementary School in Philadelphia, it was pretty rough, I would get beaten up every day by bullies. And it got to the point, I was about 7 years old, that my dad said to me, Larry, if you come back beaten up one more time, I'm going to beat you up when you get here. He gave me boxing lessons.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I learned how to fight, okay? And you have too. So
yes.
Tell our listeners who love you exactly how we fought the law, in quotes, because it really isn't the law. We fought the lawless, Robert Mueller, and how we won.
Well, Larry, it was a huge battle because the prosecutors wanted me to be the link to connect Julian Assange to Roger Stone. And this was pivotal. I mean, in July and August 2016, when we were in Italy with 25th wedding anniversary with my wife and family, I had time and I did figure out that Assange had Podesta's emails, the chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign. And having studied Podesta, I knew basically what would be in those emails. I knew it would be devastating and that they would be released by Assange in October. And the FBI apparently had all my phone calls, all my text messages, all my emails. I told this to Roger Stone. I told it to others. And it just turned out that I was right. So when it came down to this 40 hours of questioning, where the FBI and 3 special prosecutors and 6 to 9 FBI on one side of a conference table, me and my attorney, at that time David Gray, on the other side of the table trying to face them. Closed conference room, no internal of the FBI building, no windows, you're not allowed to leave. I told them I'd figure this out myself, and they wouldn't accept it. So we began this grueling interrogation for over and over again, everybody I ever saw in 2016. And we tried to say, maybe if you know someone, tell us who it was that connected me to Assange. There wasn't anyone. And so, Larry, when they gave us this plea deal and they blew this up and they said, either you're going to face 25 years in jail with a jury in Washington that you'll surely lose, or read this script and agree to this one count, you'll get no prison time. Well, the one count was my first day's memory mistake. Before I'd seen my emails, it was a testimony they allowed me to amend, because there were emails where I was willing to pass on from Roger to Ted Malloch in London, say, go see Assange. But the basic point is, Larry, I would not lie to keep myself out of prison. I wouldn't lie to give them information which was critical to their case against Donald Trump. All they wanted was me to give them a source, and I would have had none of this problem. But I wouldn't lie to do in Donald Trump, and I wouldn't lie to do myself in. I'd rather go to prison. And when you joined the team, we resolved. We were still in the feeling that we could be indicted. This was in November 2016 that I rejected the plea deal. It wasn't until this past weekend, in March, that I knew the FBI wasn't going to knock on the door and arrest me. And your strategy, Larry, which was let's fight them, to file a criminal complaint against Mueller with the Attorney General, and that time it was Whitaker who was acting Attorney General, which still has not been resolved, and to file this federal district court, $350 million, U.S. District Court in Washington against Mueller, a civil case, alleging basically prosecutorial misconduct. The fight back strategy, Larry, and I've started writing my book, Silent No More. I decided I'm going to expose the whole thing. I knew this was going to infuriate them, Larry, but I thought it was a moral decision on my part that I was not going to lie to save myself. And they said, basically all you have to do is throw Donald Trump and Roger Stone to the wolves, and we'll be happy.
We're going to pick it up right after the break, Jer, because this is a case history of how to succeed, how to do it the right way. We'll be right back.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
I'm back with Dr. Jerry Corsi, my friend. Jerry, continue on, because it's important that people get your book so they can see what's been happening here in our government, because you are a study on how to fight the government and how to win. And people need to know the level of corruption that we're dealing with right now. Your cases are the ones that are likely to succeed, that bring about justice. I don't believe that Lindsey Graham's congressional committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, is going to do much of anything. He's quite conflicted. He's the one who gave the Steele dossier, or at least told John McCain to give it over to the FBI. That's what triggered the whole thing. So how hard is he going to push? But you're pushing back. And it's important for people to understand this full story on how we, the people, can stand up to a tyrannical government.
Well, see, Larry, I started writing this Silent No More in the middle of this 40-hour interrogation. I mean, I began the book as this Kafkaesque experience, and basically, I said, now as I write this in my senior years, I find myself threatened with imprisonment for the first time in my life. With the confusion and frustration that prevailed over the Robert Mueller prosecutors after 2 months of trying to cooperate with them, I anticipate now I may be sentenced so severely for one crime or another that I'll die in prison, all because of the way Robert Mueller's witch hunt prosecution operates. And I detailed this every day. I was writing this. I said, if these people are going to act in this criminal way, only a criminal would give me a plea deal where I had to lie before God and a federal judge to a crime I didn't commit. And then I said, well, I've got securities license, I've got insurance licenses. Well, Dr. Corsi, this will be secret that you're a criminal, so you can't tell the regulators. So I got to lie, and I've got to break regulations in the securities and insurance industry in order to stay out of prison. Well, that was the breaking point where I said, no, I'm going to tell them to take a hike. And the key point was Monica, my wife, woke up one morning and she said, I'd rather visit you in prison the rest of your life than have you not be the man I married. And we were facing a couple $1 million in legal expenses, breaking the family, me never seeing my children or the family again as a free man. And Monica said, don't lie. I'll stand beside you. I mean, Larry, it's impossible to explain how horrible experience this is, how you wake up at 3 in the morning. But Larry, I could not swear to something I didn't do. I couldn't go before God and say, I committed this crime, I'm going to lie in order to stay out of prison. I said to Mueller, I'm going to write. I wrote the book, started writing the book, and I said, if you want to put me in prison at 75 years old for the rest of my life, go ahead and do it. If that's where we've gotten to in America, then I'll go to prison.
Sharon, when we push back, with the criminal complaints, with the Office of Professional Responsibility, the Inspector General of the Justice Department, with the D.C. Bar Disciplinary Council is very leftist. They'll probably do nothing in the end here. But we made a point. And, of course, those OPR and IG investigations should be continuing. I did get confirmation that they have it, that they are moving forward. And, of course, our $350 million plus, we didn't do it for the money. We did it because the only way you can hold these people accountable, frankly, is to bankrupt them so they'll understand the gravity of what they did. Because there's no way that our Justice Department today, even under Bill Barr, is ever going to push back against these people. It's a club. Everybody in this club in Washington, D.C., where I am today, there's an evil cloud that hangs over this city, and Democrats and Republicans protect each other. It's for show. It's not for dough. So what you're doing is quite unique. You're pushing back, and I want people to read about it because it's a very important story. And where can people go to buy your book, Silent No More? And Jerry does need the help. We need the help to our legal defense fund because we're still fighting off Congress. They're coming after us with Gerald Nadler, with Adam Schiff. We had to produce documents to them recently, and we're going to tell the truth there as well. But where can they go to get your book?
Well, it's available now. It's in hardcover. It's also ebook, and I narrated the audio book and the iTunes 9.5 hours reading the book of the story in my own voice. It's available in stores everywhere, bookstores, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, my website, Corsi Nation, CORSI Nation.com. And Larry, I have no job now because they destroy your ability to earn a living. I have no income, no current monthly income. A couple $100,000 in legal bills, which we really can't pay. I can't retire. But if we hadn't taken the strategy, Larry, I'm confident they would have indicted me. If they got no pushback, if they felt that they could bully us one way or the other, they'd have indicted me. And what I decided to do, and you were great help in helping us make this decision at various points, Larry, and continuing, is to go public and to go vocal and to call them out and say, Silent No More. Here's how it felt day by day to be in that room. The 9 FBI and the 3 prosecutors act up. They walk out. They call David Gray into the next room, and they say they're going to put me in prison. He has to talk them back from the ledge. I'm in this room alone, pacing around, no cell phone, no laptop for an hour or more, wondering if they're going to come in and handcuff me. The whole thing was psychologically torment. The prosecutors decided they were going to break me, and they used every psychological technique in the book, saying I'm old, I'm going to be afraid to go to prison, to break me. I just refused to break. And then I went public. And Larry, you've been a great assistance in doing this. I couldn't have done it without you. But I think it's the only way to fight back. I couldn't do otherwise.
Well, I'm privileged to have you not just as a friend but as a client, because I'll tell you something, there are very few clients, Klayman Bunny's another one and his sons, who would fight back. Most people will just throw the towel in and hope for the best, and it'll ruin the rest of their lives. But you and I think a lot alike, Jerry, and that was a pleasure representing you because we're on the same page. We've always been fighters. We're still fighters. We're not afraid to be called conspiracy theorists. Conspiracies happen, by the way. Reminds me, when we were taking on Clinton, they said that we were the great right-wing conspiracy, right. And I would respond, only if we're doing it right, So,
right, exactly.
So, but give us an insight, because, there's some humor here, too, because Jeannie Rhee, one of the prosecutors for Mueller, who I went up against because I filed a RICO case against Hillary Clinton and her foundation. Bill was in it, too. She was defending the Clinton Foundation. You told me that she actually wore a see-through blouse in the middle of this, perhaps to try to distract you, but I'm not sure that, it distracted you that much.
Well, I couldn't believe it. It was the day we went to the grand jury, and here Jeannie Rhee comes in, and she has got a see-through shirt and no bra. And I'm saying to myself, I can't believe this. She's going to be like this in front of the grand jury, and I'm supposed to concentrate on the questions. I'm supposed to maintain eye contact. I'm saying, I don't know what this is all about. Maybe I'm just, of a different age and different culture, but I never in my wildest imaginations imagined any woman respecting a grand jury would show up like that.
Jerry, I think there ought to be a Hollywood movie made about this. Maybe we can get Woody Allen to do it.
It'd make a great movie, Larry. It would because the drama, the FBI showing up at my door unannounced August 28th, 3 days before my birthday. We were two German Shepherds. German Shepherds could taste FBI. Maybe we should have let them have them. We had to restrain the German Shepherds before we opened the door. I was in my study with my wife. We were just having a nice, pleasant conversation. And here at the door, we said, "Who's at the door?" It said, FBI. And Mike says, "Oh, here we go." And we all knew our lives were never going to be the same. It was a horror show. And I think, Larry, we're now vindicated because with no indictment, which is now clear after we have the Mueller report, it's clear that Mueller was bullying me. They were asking me to plead guilty to a crime they knew and I knew I didn't commit, that the FBI and the prosecutors knew they could not win in court. The only way they could get me into prison is if they scared me into accepting a plea deal.
Well, and you got it from all sides, Jerry. You didn't just get it from Mueller, but you got it from other people that were trying to tear you down. They were trying to hurt me. And you did it the right way. Okay, you told the truth. You didn't threaten witnesses. You were, what they say in Yiddish, a mensch. Okay,
right. I appreciate that.
And that's it's more than that.
That's a big compliment. I really do appreciate that. That's an honesty and a level of, being a real adult that it does take, because the easy path would have been to tell them what they wanted to hear.
And that's what 9 out of 10 people would do, probably more than that. But, we're not, like I said, out of the woods. Tell us about what's happening with the House Judiciary Committee and what's likely to happen with the House Intel Committee.
Well, no, we've had to give documents over. We've already received letters. The next thing will be to subpoena me to give testimony. These are very hostile committees. It means more legal bills. It means more legal expense. And so we're not out of the woods yet. Sounds like a continuing nightmare. And anything I say at these committees is going to be quite put back against what I've said to the special prosecutor in these 40 hours. It's a nightmare. I can't remember precisely everything from 2016. It's now 3 years ago. And they have everything. They have an 8-inch thick book with my name on it and said, well, ask a question and say, well, this tab 32, this email you wrote 2 or 3 years ago contradicts what you just said. I said, why don't you show me that first? I came here to cooperate. We gave you our laptops. I gave you my cell phones. I volunteered. I handed over my email accounts, and I was treated like a criminal.
Well, they don't care about that. And right now, they're like wounded water buffaloes, or worse, wildebeests, or whatever you want to call them. The Democrats, the leftist media, they're out for blood. They're foaming at the mouth. They're rabid. They've got to come up with something. And there's even some never-Trumpers out there that are saying, and I'm really shocked and very disappointed, Andrew Napolitano, the judge on Fox News, is saying that there's got to be something in that report that's going to be very harmful to Trump. So they're not giving up. And we need to fight back, and we always need to stay vigilant, whether it's the former Soviet Union, now Russia, China, or whatever. You got to be worried about the nuclear missiles coming over the horizon. You can never, ever let up, Jared, and that's why we need to push back.
Well, it's government tyranny, and what has happened under Obama is the justice system has become politicized and weaponized. These were hard left prosecutors that I faced. I can tell you they hated my writings. They said my books were lies. They ridiculed my religion. They said God told me that Assange had Podesta's emails, and they made a farce out of anything that I believe in, and they were determined, to convict Donald Trump of not only of treason. They already had the murderer, Donald Trump, but there was, it was a missing persons case, and at the end of the trial, when they convict Donald Trump, the missing person shows up. It wasn't a murderer after all. They wouldn't care. They didn't have to have a crime. They had a criminal, and they were out. If I didn't give them, if these Jeannie Rhee and Aaron Zelinsky and Mueller, if I didn't give them testimony that fit into their predetermined narrative, they were going to send me to prison. That's the bottom line.
Well, now we're going to seek to send them to prison at this point because there needs to be an example set, and I hope, Jared, that you'll be available to testify. We have citizens' grand juries that are going to mete out justice peacefully and legally because the federal government's not going to do it. I'm tired of seeing these hearings on Capitol Hill. It'll be another dog and pony show, and Lindsey Graham simply is not the person to be presiding over them since he's the one that told McCain to give the Steele dossier to the FBI, which triggered this entire thing. The people need to understand the truth, and you need to get Jerry's book because that is the truth, and that's the lesson for history more than anything else. Silent No More. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's a great book, Jared. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for being my client, because it's perhaps the most rewarding experience I've had as a lawyer in 42 years to successfully defend you in this.
Well, you've done a brilliant job, Larry. We couldn't have done it without you, and God bless you, and God bless your family. We're just really indebted to all that you were able to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. We'll be back with the verdict of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
Now for the verdict. What is the verdict? You know what the verdict is that when bullies seek to beat you up, when they want to put you away for life, when they think that they have superior power over you, including we the people, you have to fight back. And either you legally take them out or they'll take you out. It's like a cancer. If you go in to excise the cancer and there's a little bit left, you may go into remission for a little while, but it's going to come back and kill you. And that's why Dr. Corsi and I are proceeding ahead against Robert Mueller and his prosecutors. That's why we're proceeding ahead with regard to citizens' grand juries, with regard to holding the Comeys, the McCabe's, the Rosensteins, and others all accountable, and, of course, Obama and Clinton, who were behind this as well. And we also need to make a point of the Republican establishment, which went along with this. They did nothing. Of course, now, Johnny come lately, okay, let's have hearings. Let's find out what went on. But why didn't this happen for the last 2.5 years? Where was Lindsey Graham then? Where was the prior head of that Judiciary Committee? Where were the others on Capitol Hill? There were just a couple Republicans in the House that wanted to do anything. And this is an outrage because, and even the president's lawyers who now are doing victory laps, if they had done what Jerry Corsi did, if they had filed criminal complaints against Mueller, if they had filed lawsuits for the illegal mass surveillance against the Trump Tower, against the president himself and his family, the Muellers of the world and the Democrats would have jumped ship like rats, like a burning ship. But they let the president get dragged along. Now, thank God it came out well in the end. And I give Attorney General Bill Barr some credit here because he put his foot down eventually. But don't expect him to go against the establishment in Washington. He is the establishment in Washington. These people all have lunch and dinner together. They all go to soirees and parties in Georgetown. They scratch themselves on the back. That's why when I come back to Washington, and I'm here a lot, but I prefer not to live in Washington anymore because there's just an evil cloud that hangs upon it. There's people walking down the street that think they're so self-important, so much better than the rest of this country that they can cover things up, continue to go to the bank and cash in. Well, that's not Larry Klayman. That's not Jerry Corsi. And then there's the people in the media like Sean Hannity. I don't mean to keep picking on him. People ask why. I've had a long experience with Hannity. I don't believe he's an honest guy. He sells stuff like a snake oil salesman, that he's responsible for everything that went on. Well, it's good that he got the word out. It's good that he has his show. I'll give him that. But it wasn't because of Hannity that Mueller went away. It was because of hard work of people like Jerry Corsi and yours truly and others who stood there in the breach, who said, no mas, no more. We're not taking it anymore, and we're going to fight back. And that's why we need your help. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, contribute with tax-deductible contributions. We're small. I've got so many cases here. I need to hire more people. We need to push. The John McEnroe theory of tennis, okay, when you get somebody down 5-0, you better finish them off, or they're going to come back, and they will defeat you. And let there be no mistake about it. The left in this country who wants to overthrow the vision of our founding fathers, they're now socialists, they're communists, they're radical Muslims, they're radical feminists, they're radical anti-Semites, they're radical Christians. These people want to take the country down. And we, the people, need to rise up. We need to prevent that from happening. We don't need another Bolshevik revolution here. I saw Dr. Zhivago. That was enough. Now we have to see Dr. Corsi. Okay, that's the one that counts, not Dr. Zhivago. So we need your support. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. We are at Freedom Watch, your private Justice Department. And, of course, with regard to Dr. Corsi, who I defended privately, please contribute to his legal defense fund. You can send a check to 2020 Pennsylvania Avenue, number 800, Washington, D.C., 20026. That will go to defray his legal costs. That money belongs to Dr. Corsi and none other. And he needs that kind of support to defend himself because we're not done with what's going on in Congress right now. Now's the time to finish them off. I want to thank you, our listeners. I want to thank Radio America. If you can get the show out to everybody for them to hear it, because you hear the truth at Radio America. You don't hear things papered over because advertisers want you to be politically correct. We say what we think is right. So God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. And God save America. And I'm going to be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor and Special Defense Counsel with Larry Klayman.